Prologue. Everything is obvious in retrospect. Events form an orderly line and lead to an inevitable conclusion. The explosion of craft brewing that has delivered over 7,000 breweries to the United States makes sense because, looking back, we filter out conflicting or extraneous information that might have confused us in the moment. That Oregon would become the national leader in brewing, that it would have 5 of the 40 largest breweries, the most craft beer consumption by far, hop fields, a USDA hops research facility, 2 major commercial yeast labs, a burgeoning flock of malt houses, that good beer could be found in movie theaters, bowling alleys, gas stations, and alongside wine lists in the finest restaurants, that pairs of elderly women sipping stouts and tables of families with children would be familiar sights in bars. All of this makes sense to our modern minds. And for anyone who has a passing familiarity with local Portland history, equally unsurprising is the success of Widmer Brothers, Oregon's most prominent brewery and one of the largest in the country. It has been this way for decades, buoyed by the Northwest's first smash success, Hefeweizen, one of the most popular American beers and one that had a lot to do with launching the state's love of beer in the first place. For those of us who are old enough to remember, Widmer was the first craft brewery to find its way into bars and restaurants. It was an early trailblazer that never looked back. For those of us who were younger and grew up with Widmer, it has always been the old reliable, the city brewery. No matter what our experience, Widmer seems like it was always destined to become the brewery it is. But around 1980, when the older of the two Widmer brothers was first turning the idea of a brewery over in his mind, none of this reality was even imaginable. The United States had just 90 breweries, a number that had fallen every year for a century. Nevertheless, Americans were drinking more beer than at any time in history, which didn't seem to indicate consumers were clamoring for more choice. When the founders of Bridgeport, a contemporary of Widmer Brothers, went looking for financing, a bank loan officer laughed and told them, "Breweries don't open, they close," before rejecting their request for a loan. Once small breweries demonstrated that they had a successful business model, banks, malt and hop companies, and steel fabricators were happy to accommodate them.